Okay, good morning. We're live today. This is so interesting. So I'm trying to live stream from both Facebook and Instagram, just so you guys are aware. So if you are here live, let me know in the comments that you're here. Just gonna fix some lighting. If you are watching the replay, let me know in the comments as well. Let me have some fun with this. Let's see here. Okay, cool. It's a bunch of stuff I can do on here. Get photos, what? Oh, interesting. Okay, cool. Sweet. So if you are here live, welcome. I'm really excited to have this conversation with you today. This has been a topic that I've been bumbling around for a while. And by the way, if I'm looking at different cameras, bear with me. I'm doing this on both. So yeah, so I've been bumbling around this particular topic for quite some time. And there was different ways that I was grappling with it. Like, what is harmony, right? And the way that we ordinarily look at harmony is the concept of peace for most people, but harmony actually has nothing to do with peace, right? Harmony is the restoration of balance. Harmony is a natural order of things. It is a cycle. And so what happens is when we're constantly in the search of peace, mistaking it for harmony, is we actually become very controlling. We need things to be copacetic and calm all the time, right? I've had friends who, when they first start doing nervous system work, their response to the world around them is, I need to take care of my nervous system. Yeah, you're absolutely right. And taking care of your nervous system actually doesn't have to do with making sure nothing ever touches it, that nothing ever hits it. It actually means that taking care of your nervous system means that it, regardless of what's happening outside of you, you're solid, you're taken care of. And so I think before I dive further into this conversation, I need to be clear on what I mean by harmony. I'm not saying peace. I'm not saying life being easy or simple or things being all unicorns and butterflies. That's not what harmony is. Harmony is the restoration of a cycle that we've, as people, have neglected. And to better understand that, we kind of have to turn to nature to understand the impact of when we interfere with the actual order of life on Earth. So I want you to consider that the seasons are a great example of harmony on Earth. We have summer, we have fall, we have winter, and we have spring. But what were to happen if we as people created the technology to intervene with the cycles of the seasons and stop winter from happening? Just stop it, dead in its tracks. What can you feel the impact that would have if we intervened with harmony in that way? See, if you were to stop winter, I immediately think, okay, let's get curious here. Would birds still migrate if they didn't have to go south for the winter? Would bears still hibernate? Where would the bears get their food? When you start asking yourself, what is the cycle of nature? You can start to see how impactful it is and how necessary that harmonious movement is. We need bears to sleep in the winter, also because there'd be no way to feed them. They eat berries. Well, maybe there would be berries, right? Maybe there would be things for them to eat since there's no winter, but what would happen if birds weren't migrating? Would there no longer be the seeds that are brought from here, brought down south? Like what would be the ecological impact if we were to intervene with the seasons actually taking place? When you start to get curious about this and you start to wonder, you can start to see that like seasons are essential. You can't have it year round. And you might argue, oh, well, California is summer all year round, and that's fine, but I've got my own opinions about California. But you need that. And there's a reason, because that is the order of things. You're not going to go from summer to winter. It's just not going to happen. The natural order is that it needs to get cooler. As the air gets cooler, snow is able to fall. And so nature is in constant harmony. And part of the reason why I've always kind of laughed at people think harmony is peace is because harmony is understanding that hurricanes are a part of nature. So now that we're all clear on what I mean by nature, the natural order of things, the natural cycle of life on Earth, I got to talk about the interference. So I hypothesize if we were to interfere with the creation of winter, what would happen? But we actually do interfere with harmony in our daily lives. And it looks very ordinary. Interfering with harmony looks like when you wake up in the morning, there's an alarm that does it for you. Interfering looks like even if you were to wake up naturally, there's a part of you that wants to fight waking up and say, no, just 2 more hours. I don't even need to be up right now. I don't need to be awake. And you fight it, and your forehead scrunches and your body gets tight, and you literally fight the wake up that's happening in your body so you could go back to sleep. Not realizing that your body is waking up because your body has had enough sleep. Your body is rested. So our minds interfere with that cycle and say, no, no, no. We need to get at least 8 hours of sleep. No, me as a person, I need 10 hours of sleep. If I don't get 10, I'm a bad person. It's a bad day. But is it true? Or did you just interfere with the natural cycle of your rest patterns that now you're just in a cranky mood? We interfere with our natural harmony when we fight our time to go to bed. When we're tired, we go, no, I just need to stay up for another hour. Right? There's a whole psychological concept now built around the idea that people are fighting for their own sovereignty. So they have this forced awakeness at night so they can have time to themselves, not realizing they're actually destroying their body in the process. You as a person have your own seasons and you fight them every day. You interfere with the rest periods that your body needs as much as the awake periods that your body asks for. This constant interruption of the natural harmonic inside of your body, the one that wakes you up, the one that says you're hungry, the one that says, let's go to bed, the constant interruption of that means that over time, you're totally lost. You're utterly disenchanted, completely not sovereign, because a clock tells you when to wake up. Clock tells you when to go to bed. A clock tells you when you need to eat. A diet regime tells you what to eat. A budget tells you what to spend, where to spend it. And the irony is that some other human made these things. Some other human, some infallible, totally imperfect person created these things, diets, budgets, ideal, optimized ways for you to live, and not realizing that individually we are our own planets, that we have our own harmonious balance, our own cycles to move through that are completely individual to us. And so we try to take someone else's optimized structure and say, okay, that should work for me. The other day, I shared a meme that was talking about how there are people who are night owls and there are people who are early birds. Myself, I'm an early bird. I like to get up early. I like to not talk to anybody for 6 hours, but I'm awake. Don't ask me to stay up past 10. My mom is a night owl. She doesn't like to wake up early. She has to fight herself to get up if she has to get up that early. But staying awake, she could stay awake till 4 a.m., not a problem. This meme was talking about how, as a society, we've basically made being a night owl wrong. And where did that come from? They came from the idea of the Industrial Revolution that people must be productive. Well, people are productive at different parts of their seasons. Their season might just happen to be at 6 p.m. when they're most productive. Me personally, I'm like a morning person, but if you give me like a 2 p.m., I'm already asleep. I have got a nap. My seasons are kind of all over the place, but I actually have a method to my madness. But in a world that doesn't like madness, they don't want you to accept that your seasons are different and unique. And so you interfere with them. You constantly try to stop your winter's rest. You try to delay your summer's rise. You are constantly interfering with the internal cycles that your body naturally has, rather than just saying, okay, let me surrender here. For the last couple of weeks, actually, I've been doing this as a practice, and I'm going to share it with you guys when I wake up in the morning. I begin stirring, right? Like there's this phase of waking up where you begin to actually become conscious again, right? And as you awake, you can feel your body ready to get up, but then there's a mental component that comes in to fight you. Like, no. It is 3 a.m. We do not need to be awake right now. And so a couple of weeks ago, it was, I could feel it. I was like, this is really early in the morning. Like, this is really early. I do not need to be up this early. And there was a moment where I tried to fight it. Actually, I did fight it for like 3 days because I kept trying, like my body was like, yep, we're ready to go. We're ready to go. We're ready to go. And I did fight it for like 3 days. I was like, 4 a.m., 3 a.m. This is really early. I don't need to be up right now. Until finally I was like, what? What if I am supposed to be up right now? And that's why I'm waking up. And so I went and decided I'm not going to fight it anymore. I'm just going to get up when my body's ready. And I woke up at 3 a.m. I went and made myself coffee. I stood outside with the air fresh on my face. And the air was so sweetly smelling that every breath I took in was soft, that it was cool but not cold. And my coffee steamed as it pulled away. It was 3:30 now. And I was far more awake than I had ever been before. One second here. And so as I just kind of let the morning unfold, everything started to happen really smoothly. I finished my coffee. I went and sat down to journal, and I wrote like 3 or 4 pages. I made myself breakfast. Everything was just flowing. I was like, isn't 4 a.m. really easy, like early to have breakfast? And I was like, okay, well, it's actually time for me to eat. I'm hungry. Made myself breakfast. I didn't constantly fight the way that my harmony wanted me to go. And I'll tell you, that was probably one of the best days of my life. Because I didn't interfere with the cycle that was me, my cycle, my pace, my speed. I didn't fight it. Sure, I fell asleep at 8:30, but that's actually not unusual for me. But when I interfere with my harmonics inside, it is exhausting. It actually requires a tremendous amount of energy to fight nature. You guys can probably hear the background music. Ignore it. Um, there's a way that when you actually start to do the harmonic practice of not fighting, is you actually start to realize that there is nothing worth fighting. It's not worth fighting your body's readiness to get up and start the day. It's not worth fighting when you're hungry. It's not worth fighting when you're ready to go for a run. It's not worth fighting when you're like, actually, I need to rest today. And it's funny because I've seen so many people say, you just need to get up and have the motivation. And half the time, that's actually interference. You are interfering with your natural cycles because you actually don't trust nature. And you don't trust nature because you don't trust yourself. And so the more that you interfere, the more validated you feel in that interference. And then next thing you know, you are disenchanted. Disenchantment is not the world of fairy tales. Disenchantment is a very modern, real world experience. It is to be so utterly disconnected from yourself, from your life, from the things inside of it, that you are constantly interfering from the connection that's actually there. Disenchantment is that spot of dissonance that lives inside of you when you know something is off, but you can't name it. And nor do you want to, because you feel like if you do name that that thing is off, then you might be put into a winter that you don't want. So you intervene. You intervene with the knowing that things are off, further instilling the disconnection you have within yourself. And the next thing you know, you are so controlled and disconnected from yourself that you are actually walking around the world so totally disoriented. You want to know why the world feels like they're purposeless? Well, yeah, because they've literally intervened with the thing that brings them their purpose. Harmonics, the bass notes, the altos, the sopranos, all of it, the good, the bad, the ugly, the happy, and the sad, all of it is a part of your harmony. When you intervene with your happiness because you think, I can't have that thing, or you intervene with your sadness because you said, oh, that's not acceptable, or you intervene with actually feeling your heartbreak because it's radically inconvenient. Every place you intervene with harmony is a place that you will never be enchanted. Enchantment happens without the intervention. There is no adding extra. There is no, let me do this crazy, grandiose ceremony so I could feel a little bit more magic in my day. It is actually a lot of fucking surrender. It is a lot of seeing all of the places where you have chosen to disconnect from yourself, from your life, because your mentality, your ego, your power of will preferred something that looked a little different. When you fight for peace, you'll never feel the magic inside of the darkness, inside of the war. People think that getting in an argument means you're disconnected, and actually arguing is deeply connected. People think that love is the only thing of connection, but I've known people who love and they're so disconnected from themselves that they don't let life unfold. Since enchantment, the frequency came to me back in February, I have had to roll around with how badly I wanted to control things, with how hard it was to not fight what was true. There was a moment that I walked in to this guy's house and I saw photos of him and his ex-girlfriend, and he was smiling. We had taken photos together and he wasn't smiling with me. Inside, I knew that there was this reality of he's not the one. He's not one of the many ones in my life. And Yet so badly, I wanted it to work. I wanted to interfere with that knowing. I wanted to make that knowing wrong, that somehow that was bullshit. And I fell into the world of fantasy that if I just did this one thing more, that maybe it would change the course of fate or destiny or whatever it was. It would change the cycle and order of things in my life. That if I did more of something, if I did less of something, if I changed my behavior, if I intervened with what was unfolding, that it would be different. And I wanted that so badly. And the fantasy was so strong. But then at some point you just realize there is nothing else to do. And that's really what surrender is. Surrender is the understanding that like everything else is taken care of. That you could fight this for the rest of your life, but it's a losing battle. Your natural cycle will take over. And here's the thing. If you fight your natural harmonics, the cycle of your life, your summers, your winters, your rising and your rest, if you are constantly battling and interfering with what those actually are, you do that long enough, harmony is going to come in and make the pendulum swing the exact opposite direction. To have you come back into balance, to have you reorient and say, you know what, I swung too far right. But here's the issue. Life comes in, smacks you and says, hey, your whole life you've been doing this wrong. You need to come back into balance. You need to come back into connection with yourself, with your life, with everything in it. You need to come back into enchantment. And the issue is that you just let the pendulum swing. So this is where you see the financial gurus whose lives combust, right? Harmony comes in and says, you spent too much time at work, not enough time with your family. So your family's going to leave you and you're going to lose your job. You guys think I'm joking. This is literally what happens in a disenchanted world. There is no harmony. So harmony has to come in and restore the cycle with aggression, with intensity, because you have controlled it so tightly. It requires the smack to lock you out of that living. And so you lose your relationships, you lose your job, you might lose your house. You have to lose something so significant to you because you've made it so significant. To have you come back to realizing what your values are, what your dreams are, what your desires are, and come back into connection with you. But what you ordinarily see is you go from being a financial guru to yoga instructor. You just swung the pendulum in the equal and opposite direction. See, if you've ever actually swung a pendulum, they're a beautiful symbol of harmony. Because when you drop the pendulum, it will swing in equal and opposite directions. It can't stay right forever. It must swing left. But when you put your attention on it, when you bring your attention specifically down to that pendulum, and you connect to yourself through the pendulum, it comes into perfect stillness. It does not move. It will feel like a magnet at the end of the pendulum. It will not swing because your attention is on it. The moment you ask that pendulum a question, it will begin to tell you which direction to go, but it will not do so without your attention. When you interfere, your attention breaks. When you interfere, you are bound to be swung in different directions that aren't true. And you're more than welcome to not believe that pendulums work, but I also found water on my property through one, so there's your evidence. See, the longer we allow interference with our natural cycles, the longer we think that we need to interfere, that somehow we need to be more productive, that we need to work longer, work harder, the more that we constantly do this to ourselves, the further from enchantment we're going to be. because you won't wake up at 3 a.m. when your body's ready. You will force yourself to stay asleep until 8 because that's when you actually need to get up. You will wake up with a migraine because your forehead was scrunched the whole freaking time. And then when you have a migraine at work, you're not going to be productive. You're going to come home lethargic. You're not going to want to eat. And you'll stay awake because this is your free time. Rinse and repeat. Or you will wake up when your body's ready. And that might be at 3 a.m. And you will get up and you will turn off the alarm because we have that as a safety net, but you never need it. You will walk outside. You will feel fresh air. You will breathe in the sense of the forest around you. You will drink your coffee or your tea. You'll hear that there's a new bird in town. You'll hear the trains pass by. You'll see that your dog is ready to play and it's 4 o'clock in the morning. You will feel like yourself because you won't be fighting being yourself anymore. Harmony is the natural order of things, and at no point were you ever supposed to be disconnected, dissonant, avoidant of disappointment, which is really just the reality check that you needed. Hey, you're disappointed. Why is that? Were you a little bit too emphasized on the fantasy that they were going to fulfill for you? Or are you disappointed because you let yourself disconnect again? Harmony wasn't meant to have you distracted. It's meant to have you connected to the cycles that you're actually supposed to live through. Nature isn't naturally destructive. It is when we intervene that nature has to respond. As a society, we have gone so far away from connection, magic, enchantment, that the only thing is possible is disenchantment. The only thing that is possible is to be mechanic in a lived human existence. I'm not interested in mechanics anymore. And don't get me wrong, I was always very interested. I automated myself out of a job because I didn't want to work that much, but I would get paid more if I could get systems to replace me. Okay, cool. So I automated myself entirely. I know the mechanics of being mechanically human, but becoming a living, breathing, felt, existing person has been quite the journey. Of taking the fantasies that I've had about what it is to be me and what it would be to be successful and to be in love and to be connected. I took the fantasies, I tried to run them. I tried to make them fulfilled. And at the end of the day, it wasn't the real thing. The real thing is so much slower. The real thing is actually not fighting the surrender that your body naturally wants, that your soul naturally craves. It is not interfering with the harmony that naturally will exist in your life. But you've got to let go of the fantasies that say that it can't. You've got to really take a look at where you actually are disconnected or disenchanted. And you have to be able to say, did I go wrong? Where did I interfere with what I actually wanted? See, the number of people I know that wanted to be creative artists that aren't, because the story about an artist is that they're always, struggling. We have a world that lacks art. I was talking to a girlfriend the other day who's in Paris, and I was like, we haven't had French art in decades. We don't have salons like Gloria Steinem used to hold in the Matisse era. We don't have that anymore because people do not see the beauty and harmony because they just believe the fantasy that it's not fucking possible. Yeah, your life might be in the middle of the city, but that does not mean that enchantment's not possible. Your life might be that you're CEO of a Fortune 500 and That does not mean that enchantment's not possible. It means that you have to take a look at where you're interfering with it being so, where you don't allow yourself to actually be in a connected conversation with your partner because you're working through the formulas of how to be vulnerable, or you're strategizing on how to get this coworker to really be productive. Well, what's productive? Maybe they're just not a fit for your business. You've got a bajillion and a half stories that keep you perpetuating your own disenchantment. And until you're willing to look at them, this is going to be your life, because you not looking at them is the interference of it. Let me just add more. Let me add more coaching. Let me add more productivity hacks. Let me add more strategy. Let me add more lessons. Let me add more da, 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 da. And then at the end of the day, you've got a textbook style life, but you don't have one that feels like you. So when your life combusts and completely falls apart, don't say I didn't warn you. It is bound to happen. There's a reason why every entrepreneur you know that's written a self-help book about how to be successful had to lose it all. They had to lose it all because if they didn't, harmony wasn't in balance. When you are so far off your own alignment, it doesn't matter if you have all the money in the world. That money will go, because harmony requires that you are in alignment. This isn't like a selected journey, people. This is a journey that everyone is going to go through. Your life will be forced to be put back in order. And the order isn't one that your ego comes up with or would prefer. The order of your life is going to be the one that accepts the hurricanes as a part of nature as much as the days where it doesn't rain. And that's the part that your particular ego is going to struggle with. The restoration of harmony does not mean life gets easy. It just means that it gets put in balance. And when it's in balance, you are unaffected. You are rooted. You are connected. Imagine a mushroom that would be victimized by the wind, when really the wind is how it moves its spores. We are far more victimized by things being harmonic than we are when we're in control. Just know that the control is only short-lived, because you can only interfere with that massive power for so long. I mean, take a look at the world right now. We are literally seeing a century of people interfering with harmony and now feeling like a slave to a clock, when the intervention was the clock itself. We become slaves to the things that we create in attempts to intervene with harmony and to make us more productive, when maybe the production is just a 10. It's not supposed to be 100, but because you wanted more, well, now you're a slave to it. When you intervene with harmony for your preference, you will become a slave to your preferences. When you interfere with the love of your life because they don't look the way that you want them to, you will leave them and go find the person that does look. And then you'll realize that that person isn't what you wanted, but they fit the preferences, you know? That the career that makes $1 million fits the preference of you having that much money, but you actually don't like the lifestyle that comes with it. The lifestyle is actually not you at all. This is the ordinary life for most people, but this is a disenchanted life, because you prioritize the preference of what the life should look like rather than how it feels. If at the end of your life, you've had a life that looked well, but it felt like shit, I don't know how happy you're going to be with the life that you actually lived. Harmony keeps life in balance. It's a harmonic that accepts the altos and the sopranos. It is nature that courses through your veins that you would prefer a skyscraper building instead of. And that's fine if you want that, but it comes at a price. And the harder you fight that price, well, the harder the fall. This isn't a curse or anything. This is just fact. Everyone has had to lose it all to get realigned, unless they were realigned the whole time. But if you feel any dissonance, if you feel disconnection, if you feel distracted, if you feel any of that, I'm telling you, those are reality checks for you to check in with yourself and say, am I aligned? Not to stress out about it, but to say, am I aligned? And to really figure out, well, maybe I'm not aligned. So what is in more alignment? And then to be on the journey of discovery there. I share this with you because the interference with harmony is a daily action. It's something we all do in different ways. We force ourselves to wake up when our bodies need more rest with an alarm, or we force ourselves to stay awake because our bodies are rested way too early. We force ourselves to stay awake because it's our free time and we need to fight for it, right? These are just simple, ordinary things that you see in your day. We fight against our harmony because we are like counting calories and being so specific about what we put into it. We live a highly controlled life. We have no ability to actually handle chaos. And that's the irony, right? Is that harmony includes the chaos. The chaos is what comes to dismantle the control. So the more control, the more chaos that you can expect. The less control, the less chaos. I don't make the rules. I just learn them. And these rules aren't hard and fast. I mean, yeah, sure, there's like the odd miracle, but miracles only happen when you're present to them. And as long as you're controlling a life for the preferential ideas that your ego has, you will never be present enough for the miracle. And I think the beauty of a miracle is that they're not ever anticipated. You never actually know how they're going to fall into place. That's the beauty of a miracle. There is nothing your mind could muster. You literally have to use the words, I can't make this shit up. It just happened. Your mind will never be more powerful than harmony. It will never be more powerful than chaos. It will never be more powerful than miracle. Surrendering to that is not defeat, it is acceptance. And it's acceptance that those powerful energies have far more life and sensation and experience for you to live that your control will never let you have. Don't get me wrong. I've been highly controlled. But the more you practice letting go of it, the more amazingness is actually available. And I'm talking like real fucking magic. I'm saying I went from feeling totally fucking neurotic to centered. You can't make this shit up, because the moment that you accept you're interfering with harmony and you stop, harmony takes care of you. She takes you through the journey of your summer and your winter to give you the rise and the rest that you need, and allows you to have the interludes of transition of spring and fall. That's what harmony allows. Harmony is the growth that you've been wanting, not the outcome. You don't want growth, you want outcome. And so you interfere with harmony. And so then you wonder why your outcome isn't sustainable. You didn't grow to meet it. You want a life full of adventure? Then you better start adventuring. You want a life that's sensational? Then you better start feeling sensation. You want a life that's successful, it's enjoyable, I can tell you that it's not going to come from your idea, mental perspective, or egoic preference. Success, joy, all of those things happen when they happen within you first. Inner world first. And if you have an enchanted inner world, there's so much more possible. I'm going to leave you guys with that. If you've been watching this whole time, I would love to hear what your learning is around interfering with harmony. Where do you do it? Do you notice where you are fighting mentally against something that's happening physically, spiritually? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear from you. If you are ready to really dive into this body of work of surrender and harmony and curiosity and wonder and enchantment, then I'm going to invite you to send me a message and to speak about Enchantment, my 1-year coven, into revealing the fantasies that we have held on to, releasing them, actually. Releasing the fantasies we have held on to, gripped to, forced into fruition, to actually unveil the magic that they were hiding. So I can tell you, these preferences, these fantasies, these stories that you think you need to fulfill, they're actually the prison that keeps you from living the life you were always meant to. Enchantment is a year-long journey with me and a very intimate coven of other women. So if you do feel called, know and understand the kind of commitment unfolding. But trust the harmony inside of you, not the one that's fighting it because, oh, well, how much is it going to cost? Or I don't know if I have the time, or any of your egoic preferences of how this should unfold, but feel into the harmony inside of you that is already a yes, that already wants to explore a life that is aligned without these stories, without the fantasies, without the push for a fairy tale that you don't even want. Trust that. My DMs are open if you have questions or if you're ready to begin your application. The applications close on October 31st, so 10 days. So I do encourage you that if you feel your yes, lean into it now. The spots are limited. This is not going to be a massive container, but there will be monthly calls for coaching around what's happening in your life, but also ritual. Ritual is required. It is what keeps you in harmony and connection with yourself when life feels like it's demanding you to fall back into the stories. Yeah. So once again, I look forward to hearing from you. Where do you see harmony in your life being interfered with? Like, where are you fucking with your own harmony, really? Or even just where you see your own disenchantments, your own distractions, your own disembodiments, your own avoidance of disappointment, your dissonance, and your disconnection. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day. Bye.